Ho buddies, welcome to Borderline Games. I'm Gareth and today we're playing Chaos Head. Last time we were following Ban, who went to see Mimose to talk about the new gen killings. And the last time we saw that she'd said that she's not familiar with the details. If I was, I would have gone after whoever was behind it in a long time. I also, at the end of the last episode, I lost my mind because I couldn't work out who the hell was talking. I feel like this would be solved if you just had like a little Ban and Mimose. It's fine for most of the time because we have lip flaps, but for like a scene like this, we don't actually have any indication as to who actually said this. Anyway, let's move on. Ban leaned forward, intrigued.
I've got a pretty good idea where this is going. Given the circumstances, I ought to hear it.
Are you sure about that? You'll be stepping into the dark side of society, Ban-chan. Are you absolutely sure you want to know? You might even get fired.
As long as I can catch the culprit behind these new gen cases, I don't really care where I end up. Well, I'll think about what to do after I hear you out.
Sipping her tea, Mimose tapped away at her laptop keyboard with her free hand. You needn't say laptop keyboard, just laptop by itself would indicate what you're doing. Displayed on the screen was a single document. It contained a list of information Mimose had personally looked into. Oopsie. The Miwa Party. What is that? Tips list. One of them, 2 major political parties in Japan. Fictional. Okay, cool. Some political party. Miwa.
Momochan, you've got to be kidding me here. I was sure the opposition's party name would come up at some point, but here...
Ban groaned in utter exasperation. Yet despite his smile, his eyes showed not even a hint of one. All they housed was now was the cold, discerning gaze of a detective.
We messed this up. This whole country's going to be shaken to its core.
Oh, there we go. Since it was the weekend, I'd been unable to get Rimi to come over, so I was forced to spend 2 very anxious days all by myself. Don't want to be. I had Rimi pick up some groceries on Friday so I could survive the weekend without leaving my base. But I'd come very close to sending her a text asking her to come over multiple times. But in the end, I hadn't sent anything. The only thing that gave me a break from my anxiety was the half hour I'd spent watching the latest episode of Bloodtune. Even in extreme circumstances, such as this one, I still had to make sure to stay up to date on Bloodtune. Of course you did. I wonder whether Yua's gonna appear. Rimi was my sole source of comfort in the 3rd dimension, but when it came to the 2nd one, Bloodtune was the one that fulfilled that role. She's got like little eyes here. I don't think I've ever noticed. That's what it looks like, right? Well, to be more specific, Seratan was. After I'd finally overcome that weekend, Monday came. I took a peek at... oh, there's an eye. Talk about peaks. I took a peek at Frapara's Phantasm section, only to find it in a state of complete disarray. Wasting no time, I immediately followed a link taking me to that channel. It was a total shit show. What's going on? Fez from Phantasm was hospitalized in the past. In the past? When she was younger, she was hospitalized for mental health reasons. Oh no. Cool story, bro. Too bad it's total BS. Phantasm is over. Eats, please. Whose eyes are those eyes? Lol. Who the fuck is Fez? You serious? Lol. Is only meant for patients with severe mental disorders, FYI. What a poor attempt at bait. If you're gonna bother making a thread like this, at least include a source. Fail. This is such bullshit. Fez has never been in that dumbass hospital. How do you even sleep at night spreading such obvious slander? I've never even heard of AHM before. Stop making shit up. The one watching you was I, Fez. Strike the stake, strike the stake, strike the stake, right into these dumbass spouting BS. The next new gen victim's going to be one of you bastards. Claim is legit. Was hospitalized for a very long period of time for mental health reasons. The hospital publishes a free newspaper in which a selection of drawings, essays, poems, and other works done by patients are shown. Her song lyrics can be found there. You can find all of this in our hospital's website, dipshits. Okay, her full name is Kishimoto something. Finally. Is that seriously all it takes for you guys to abandon her? Well, that's just fine by me. That means I've got fewer rivals now. That's kind of gross. Finally! Wait, Lamau. It was actually true. WTF. Yes, yes, yes. Hell yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4. I declare a flame war. There's even pictures. I'm going to piss myself laughing. I used to like Fez quite a bit, sexually. Yes, yes, yes. This must be someone's guidance too. The verses there aren't used in Phantasm's song, are they? The one watching you was I, Kishimoto Ayase. I'm seriously gonna cry. I think I sort of understand. They say there's a fine line between genius and insanity after all. Band breakup flag for the win. Tonight the Black Mass cometh. Well, that sets Phantasm's fate in stone. I guess this is a more fitting end for them than going mainstream. Any comment from Fez yet on their official site? Doesn't matter how much noise you virgins make on here, Fez doesn't look at the past, only the future. Can't wait for her next prophecy predicting all your deaths. Be right back. Putting on my roller skates. Lola skates. Like roller skates. So Fez always was mentally ill, but that's good. That's what's good about her. That's cool that she's ill. This is all just some magnificent bait from Feztan. Fez's spirit, oh my god, how long is this going on for? Collapsed because the world is full of ill will. Its power awoke the punk part of her soul. Those keen, aggressive lyrics are the cry of her sublimated soul. We, on the contrary, should celebrate the facts bared by 12 as Holy Grace. The website's down. Are they trying to bail? I followed the URL. That... About hour 12. This one? I see. Let's send. 12 had sent. Here we are. Arkhart Medical. Apparently Arkhart Medical was an old school psychiatric facility that only treated severe cases of mental illness, or at least that was what the website said. The website had pictures of the place, and frankly it looked like a straight up penitentiary. That's how you say that, right? There were iron bars in every single window. I wasn't even sure if it was still open or not. The homepage hadn't been updated for 4 years or so. But just as the poster on @channel had said, beneath a certain poster was the name and photo of a young Ayase. Well, there she is. Why is it like that? It's weird, right? Ayase was mentally ill. It wasn't that it was shocking to me or anything like that. After all, I'd regularly gone to a mental hospital too, back when I was in elementary school, so really I felt sympathy for her. Ayase and I were the same. She had that bewitching aura to her, and every person my age in Shibuya thought she was so charismatic, but despite how different that made us, in this one way we were the same. The fact that we had that in common reinforced my hypothesis that I had the same power she did, the power to project delusions onto reality. Or you're both deluded. It wouldn't be wrong to say that it gave me some courage, maybe even strength. Though, there was one problem. Up until now I had taken everything Ayase had said at face value, but that might have been a mistake. Things about how to acquire a D-sword. Things about how getting my hands on one could save me. It wasn't the phenomenon she'd showed me that was making me doubt her, but the words she'd said. I wasn't sure whether or not to believe her. Maybe. The sudden ringing of my phone startled me. You could always count on them to take you by surprise. I nearly pissed myself. That was why I hated these things. The loud ringing refused to stop, so I clicked my tongue and grabbed it. Grabbed my tongue? It was probably Nanami calling me. She was probably just calling me to bitch about whatever random bullshit was bothering me. Bothering her. Kill me now. Annoyed as could be, I pressed the accept call button and held the phone to my ear without checking who was calling. I had no idea why I did that. After everything that I'd been through, why the hell would I not check the caller's number? Oh, it's the music again. What came from the other side of the line was a certain melody playing loudly. You may pass. I frantically checked the number on the display. Shit. I knew I should have checked. It was them. But how? It had said it wasn't in use anymore. When I'd had Nanami call the number to check, that one notice played. Maybe the prankster had reactivated it. What do I do? Panicking, I turned toward the center of my room. Surely Rimi would be there, ready to give me some advice. But she obviously wasn't. Of course she wasn't. Rimi was at school right now in the middle of class. I told her in advance that I wouldn't go to school today, so she hadn't come to pick me up. As I freaked out trying to figure out what the hell to do, You May Pass kept on playing from my phone. A whole minute had already passed. From the small amount I'd listened to earlier, I could tell there were other sounds mixed in with the melody. A wheelchair. The few things I could make out were the sounds of car engines and people walking. Whoever was calling me, they had to be outdoors. Who the hell was calling me? I could only think of one person that would pull a prank like that. Jackass. Shogun. Now really freaking out, I looked at Sarah Tan, who was standing next to my PC screen. What should I do, Sarah? Sarah Tan smiled at me, just as she always did.
Why don't you turn it off? Just ignore it, you silly Billy!
Oh, you're right, I could do that. I should have done that from the beginning. I put my thumb on the button to end the call. But for some reason, before hanging up, I felt the undeniable urge to listen to You May Pass just one more time, just for a little bit longer. It felt strange, even to me. It creeped me out. There was no reason I should have hesitated even remotely. And yet, I, almost subconsciously, gripped my phone and brought it to my ear. Spooky. It came surging out of the phone. A fierce pain. A violent, piercing, nearly ultrasonic noise. That sound shot throughout my entire body. It was as if lightning had struck my head. My entire body was paralyzed. I screamed as loud as I could, yet I couldn't hear my own voice. Boiling. My brain. My heart. They boiled, they bubbled, they melted into mush. Pain crawled from deep within my body, tearing me apart. Lisa. My consciousness liquefied and coursed through my veins, and when it finally arrived at my heart, it erupted in a resounding explosion, then vanished. Overwhelmed by these horrific sensations, I was unable to figure out what was going on. I could no longer even think. There we go. Whoa. When Kusunoki Yua slowly opened her eyes, she saw her class, Class 3B, enveloped in pure chaos. I knew we were going to see Yua. Several students had collapsed. Their eyes had rolled back into their heads. Foam bubbled from their mouths as their entire bodies convulsed. Another group of students were crouched low to the floor, cowering, pressing down on their heads in pain. The students that remained shot up from their seats and made straight for the hallway. Even though classes were technically still in session, the teacher was too focused on taking care of the students that had collapsed to pay those who left any attention. All the students that had run away were screaming in terror, but none of that seemed to register within Yua's mind. Her phone had been vibrating in her skirt pocket for a while now. Once she finally realised that, Yua slowly reached for it. She attempted to stand up but was unable to keep steady and fell from her chair. Staying low to the ground, she leaned against the wall. After she put her glasses back in place, Yua pressed the accept call button and held her phone to her ear.
Hello? Yes. Oh. Yes? Oh, me. I'm fine.
As she answered the question, Yua grimaced and pressed on her forehead. She could hear the clamour of her classmates in the hallway, as well as the voice of her teacher trying to help the unconscious students, but it all sounded so terribly distant.
Yes. Yes. And you are? Yes. Yes. I see. Then that means... Huh?
Suddenly, Yua went pale. She covered her phone with her hand and brought her voice low. Her voice had very clearly been shaking.
That can't be true. Because... In actuality...
Upon saying that much, Yua's voice began to falter. She hung her head.
In actuality, it was me.
The commotion in the hallway intensified. Everyone was looking and pointing in the same direction, anxious expressions on their faces. The windows in the hallway rattled as if they were being hit by a fierce gale.
Uh-huh. Yes. That's right. My... sister. Yes. I understand.
At last, Yua bowed her head as if the person she was speaking to was in front of her, then hung up the phone. Then she looked up and directed her gaze toward where everyone was pointing, beyond the window.
The sky.
What's going on with the sky? It was as if a seal of white paint had coated the surface of a grand lake. The sky, which had previously been filled only by its light blue colour, was turning white. The white was spreading at an impossible speed. It bled rapidly across the sky, eroding each and every speck of blue it could find.
It's turning white.
Whoa, finished chapter 5. Chapter 6, Noah. That's the title of the book. If it were a day like any other, getting released from a lengthy meeting would have put Ban Yusuji in a good mood. However, today was not a normal day. The detective removed himself from his peers, moved to the nearest window, and attempted irritably to call his junior. Suwa, his partner, had not shown up to today's meeting.
I get wanting to play hooky on this, but did you really have to leave me to go do it alone? Get on, kid.
Ban thought to himself. At first glance, Suwa may have appeared light-hearted, but in actuality he was quite the diligent man and took his job very seriously. With this being Ban's opinion of him, what had happened today was quite the shock. He had attempted to call him several times, but it always went to voicemail. Ever since he'd heard a fairly unsettling story from Momose 2 days prior, Ban had been faced with a constant feeling of uneasiness. And today, only more troubles had been added to the pile. There was the incident with Suwa, but that was not all. When Ban was reporting about the GE rate earlier this morning, he was immediately shot down by Mutsunaga. "We don't have time for crackpot theories," his superior had said. "Could you not add to the pile, kid? I've had enough for 1 week." Ban waved his fan at his face repeatedly and let out a small sigh. And right when he did, the call connected, and he heard the voice of his junior on the other end. "Sir, it's you."
There you are, you schmuck. Where the hell have you been?
The reception was extremely poor.
Which part of the countryside did Sewer lose himself in?
Ban thought, scratching his head. "So, I'm into specs my way, you know?"
Huh? What are you saying? Where are you?
As Ban shouted into the receiver, Sewer's voice disappeared on the other end, replaced by a continuous rustling sound. "How about now? Can you hear me?"
Yeah, I can. So where the hell did you...
"Well, I thought I'd do things my way for a bit, so I went and asked around."
Uppity little...
The way Sewer acted on his own without getting permission was not something that was worthy of praise. However, Ban could not help but smile wryly to himself, as he too was taking unauthorized actions even now. He considered that perhaps he was a bad influence on his junior. "I might be close to getting my hands on a clue. It'll be conclusive evidence as to who's the real new gen culprit."
What?
The colour in Ban's eyes shifted. "Keep that top secret, though. I might be mistaken."
It doesn't matter. Just get your rear back here right now, you hear me?
"No, I've got to dig some more."
What? You talking back?
"Ease up, I've got..." "Sewer?" "Oh."
Sewer? Sewer!
Earthquake? Right at that moment, the area below Ban's feet began to shake.
An earthquake?
That's what I said. The shaking gradually increased in intensity. It was hard to even stand up straight. Unable to maintain his balance for any longer, Ban got down low to the floor. Or to the ground, that's fine, Gareth, you can say that.
It's a big one.
The other detectives, who at first seemed to be underestimating the seriousness of the situation, all quickly moved under their tables. The clock, fixed to the wall, the paper cups, the pens atop the tables, the projection equipment, they all crashed to the floor one by one. The two whiteboards standing side by side near the podium fell to the ground as well. It's like we're being stuck in some insane turbulence. That was how it felt to Ban. It felt like the ground was disappearing beneath him. His entire body was being swung left and right by the shaking. It seemed to have a seismic intensity of around 5 or 6. As the Great Kanto earthquake finally arrived, of all times for it to hit, it hits now. Immediately after thinking that, a fierce pain shot through Ban, causing him to groan out in pain. It felt as if he'd taken a violent blow to the head. But he'd not been physically struck by anyone. It was simply a severe headache.
Gah!
Suddenly a scream echoed throughout the conference room. Gritting his teeth, Ban looked up to see one of the detectives gripping his head, as he writhed in agony. And then, like a lifeless doll, he fell to the ground with a thump. Most of the other detectives were gripping their heads as well, their faces contorted in pain. What was this headache that bore no resemblance to any he had experienced before? Whether it was connected to the earthquake, there was no way for Ban to know. Eventually, the shaking gradually subsided. With his vision blurred, Ban looked out the window. Everything was covered in a milky white light. A light so dazzling, Ban could no longer keep his eyes open.
Ugh. Gah.
As I open my eyes, oh, I see. We're back. We're back. As I opened my eyes, I felt a pain sharp enough to crack my skull open. I found myself slumped over in the middle of my room. I tried to get up, but the pain in my head suddenly shot to the rest of my body, and I nearly fainted from the agony. I let out a pained groan. After 5 full minutes of pure writhing torture, the pain receded slightly and I managed to stand up by using the leg of my bed to support myself. I wiped off the cold sweat on my forehead with my hand. My room was completely devastated. It was as if a tornado had ripped through it. All my wafers lined up on the shelf had toppled over, and some had even fallen off the shelf entirely. The bed was now sitting at an angle, and the piles of erosion packages had crumpled to the floor and scattered everywhere. What the hell had happened? If I remembered correctly, there'd been a phone call that had played the melody of You May Pass before then transitioning into something like an ambulance siren. It was exactly the same as last time. That's right. Right when the buzz had sounded, I'd heard the ground roar, and immediately after that my whole body had felt like it was boiling and melting. And then I couldn't remember a damn thing. It was all completely blank. Oh god. Was it an EM wave attack from Shogun? What if Shogun was capable of something similar to what was in the patent I'd found? The patent. Just the thought alone sent a chill down my spine. While trying my best to endure my headache, I looked up at the ceiling. Of course, there wasn't anything to see up there. But if he was reading my mind, he'd have to be using a satellite that'd be in orbit way up there. There's no way that isn't possible. But, considering what Cena had told me before, that patented system could already be in use. Maybe it was in use, and a few people were already abusing it. And maybe Shogun was among them. No, there was no way. It was way too far-fetched. There was no way an old fart like him with one foot on the grave would have private access to a satellite. Unless he was one of the key persons behind a top-secret black project sanctioned by the government. He couldn't be, could he? Scaring myself with my own delusions wasn't helping anything. Since something had actually happened, I decided to look up what the hell it was online. Still fighting my headache, I crawled toward my computer. The computer should have still been on. The monitor should have been displaying a wallpaper with Seriton on it, but it was pitch black. I hadn't set it up to automatically go into sleep mode, so it wouldn't make any sense for it to do that. I was feeling dizzy. It was as if I had no strength left in my body. Even standing up took almost everything I had. Gritting my teeth, I attempted to move the mouse around. No response. Next, I tried to press the power button. Oh. After a second, the hard disk started, emitting its typical scratching noise. I sank down in my chair. As I was waiting for my PC to boot, I frantically grabbed my phone, which was still on my desk. I checked the time. Huh. 1 PM. Before I'd gotten that phone call, what time had it been back when I was browsing the Ayase Stuff on Art channel? When I tried using my brain, the stabbing pain coursing through it got even worse. Think. The time. Remember the time. It couldn't have been. Yeah, it hadn't been noon yet. Which meant I've been unconscious for over an hour. Or maybe I'd been sleepwalking and I'd ended up wandering off somewhere else for an hour. No, I'm not a sleepwalker. I shook my head violently, trying to stop thinking about things that would make me sink back into negative bullshit. As I did so, my vision wobbled from the pain still hammering in my head. It was like a lump of lead was sitting in the middle of my skull. And when I looked at my PC monitor, I saw... Uh-oh. What? Hey, what the hell? No way. The hard disk data was corrupted. You're kidding me. There's no way. If this is for real, this is the end of everything. It was where I stored my giga-sized collection of R18 Mopics. My Eroge save data. No! All my bookmarks for sites I browse daily. My minimum attendance chart. You gotta accept things. Taku, your life's over. And the thing I treasure the most. My ESO save data. You're telling me everything's gone. Fuck. I wanted to cry out in frustration. I wanted to smash my keyboard in anger. I wanted to kick the wall with everything I had. Before I did anything, though, I needed to check if I could restore it. But my whole body was still heavy and my headache refused to go away. All I could do was bite my lip and sink deeper into my chair. It was over. My life was over. Losing my ESO data meant I had no reason left to live. No, come on, that's too far. Come on, Takumi. Nothing mattered anymore. It had all burned away. Just kill me.
Wait a sec, Taki.
With an angelic smile on her face, Saratan gently called for me from atop my desk.
Cool your jets. Since ESO is an online game, shouldn't the save data all be on a server somewhere?
By server, you mean the dev server?
So even if your computer did kick the bucket, Nightheart's data should still be on the server, righto?
Oh, you're right. I was so dizzy and confused I'd forgotten even the basics. It felt like I'd finally found a ray of hope shining through the endless despair. I knew I could depend on my waifu. I'd still have to give up on my treasured pics and MP3s that I hadn't backed up, though. I needed to start reformatting the OS as quickly as possible. And I wanted to see from my own two eyes that my ESO data was safe. Though, in order to do that, the headache that was still torturing me had to stop. Ugh. Unfortunately for me, the pain didn't feel like it was going anywhere anytime soon. There was rarely ever a moment in which the screens of Shibuya Station were not coloured with advertisements, video clips, or music videos from the latest popular artists. And yet, currently the screens were instead displaying a female anchor with a grave expression on her face. It was an ongoing special TV broadcast. Sensational words decorated the top left of the screen. S15 earthquake in Shibuya, over 200 casualties. Earthquakes were not particularly unexpected in Japan. The Tokyo metropolitan area had already fallen victim to several seismic intensity 5 earthquakes over the years. However, as the media gathered more and more information about the incident, the sheer number of casualties made it clear that this was no ordinary earthquake. It was especially peculiar when compared to the 2005 earthquake, also seismic intensity 5, where no fatalities had been reported. Moreover, the epicenter was Shibuya, a city which was already the center of attention in Japan due to the New Gen incidents. There'd already been an earthquake in Shibuya approximately 3 months prior. It was a seismic intensity 3 quake, and 8 people had died. Maybe Shibuya's cursed. That was what the people observing the breaking news about the latest earthquake were thinking, even if they were not saying it out loud. In any case, each station had started their special broadcast right when the earthquake hit. Information was having trouble circulating, and the total death count was still unclear. Nonetheless, the female anchor continued to report. Reading from a stack of papers, she declared,
"The Fire and Disaster Management Agency has confirmed 31 deaths, and that number is expected to rise as they continue to aid those affected. The causes of death remain unknown, but the..."
Furthermore, various reports described a mysterious white light appearing immediately after the earthquake had hit. According to these reports, the light had been accompanied by a massive shockwave, and it had turned the sky completely white. The cameras spread across Shibuya's Scramble Crossing had caught the aforementioned light on tape, and after the earthquake ended, nothing but pure white footage was displayed on loop on the jumbotrons located there. The discoloration that had appeared alongside the earthquake had not simply been a dull white, however, it had been utterly blinding. Shibuya had been momentarily enveloped in light, the sheer glare forcing each and every resident's eyes shut. If this were an era of war, the people would have undoubtedly believed it to have come from a nuclear weapon. As a matter of fact, there were some who claimed to have spotted a white mushroom cloud floating a few hundred meters above Shibuya, though it was quick to vanish. No one knew what the origin of that light was, nor if it was connected to the earthquake. And then, just as mysteriously as its arrival, the white sky had returned to its original colour in less than an hour. And now, a dull light blue lay above the people of Shibuya. The asphalt of Dojinzaka was very slightly cracked, its damage only millimeters wide. And the multi-tenant buildings, together with many other structures along Sentagai, had all grown small crevices across their walls. The reformatting of my OS had taken nearly 2 hours to finish, and yet my headache still hadn't gone away. I'd even lost consciousness a few times from the pain. I'd passed out on my keyboard from exhaustion before, but today was the first time I'd literally passed out. On the plus side, though, the pain was way more bearable now than it had been 2 hours ago. I wet my throat with some cola, and then summoning all my energy, I stood up. I fixed my broken bed and made it level again. Then I cleaned my floor to the extent that I'd be able to walk around. It took a lot of effort to do because of how weak I was feeling, but it had to be done. I wouldn't have been able to leave my own room otherwise. If Shogun were to attack again, not that I actually knew it was him, this time, I would have been trapped and unable to escape. In other words, I'd be completely fucked. I had to secure an escape route, or else. Once I'd finished hang on, guys. I've just got something in my mouth. Once I'd finished reformatting my OS and cleaning my room, I went straight to the PC, installed ESO, and tried logging into Baselard. It worked. It worked! Nightheart isn't gone! My items and equipment are all here! Oh, thank God. Thank God. 31 people are dead, Takumi. I was so moved that I tried to get up and pump my fist in the air, but even that took too much energy, so I gave up halfway through. I couldn't have been more happy to see my other self alive and well. I thought he was gone forever. Okay. Time for the next step. While it was definitely a huge load off my shoulders, I still wanted to try and figure out what exactly had even happened, not to mention demand compensation and a formal apology. It had seemed like an earthquake, but there were way too many things that didn't add up, if that were true. I looked for Grim inside Baselard, but he was nowhere to be found. I went to check the chat room, but since I'd lost my bookmarks, I had trouble finding it. When I eventually did, though, I discovered that Grim wasn't there either. of all times for him to have gone AWOL. Why now? With no options left, I had no choice but to head straight to Taboo itself. 200 casualties in Shibuya. On it I found the following article. Over 200 casualties in Shibuya. That's what I said. So there really had been an earthquake. It had been a seismic intensity 5 quake. And loads of people had died. Casualties were currently set at 200. But the article said that that number may even go beyond that. There were also reports of Shibuya sky turning pure white for a short period of time, as well as a giant mushroom cloud, though no one knew if either of those things were connected to the earthquake. The earthquake was also being discussed on that channel, with people posting things like, more Shibuya stuff, or Shibuya is over, or whatever else. There was also a video uploaded on there showing footage of Scramble Crossing that had been taken from its various surveillance cameras. This wasn't just an earthquake, right? When it happened, I'd been hit with a terrible headache. And it wasn't just your normal headache, it felt like my head was boiling. And even now, almost 2 hours later, I was still experiencing throbbing pain and fatigue. Maybe that's how you'd end up if you got stuck in a microwave. If I thought about it that way, my delusion that Shogun was going after me with EM wave attacks might not have been so far-fetched. Oh? Right at that moment I heard a familiar sound coming from my PC. It was the notification tone that played before whenever someone entered the chat room. Grim might have joined. I wanted to get the full story of what had happened, so I opened up the chat room.
Shogun!
Oh my god, it's Shogun. Holy fuck. The moment I saw that name, a shriek escaped my mouth. What was with this timing? Could he actually read my mind after all? The hand I was using to hold the mouse was trembling. My entire body was frozen in fear, overriding even my headache. Just looking at Shogun's name made me feel sick, but I couldn't look away. I wanted to close the chat room, but I was in such a state of shock my mind and body felt like they'd been ripped apart. I tried desperately to move the mouse, but my body simply refused to listen to me. I felt chills on the nape of my neck. I was being watched. God's gaze. Or maybe it wasn't God. Maybe it was Shogun's gaze being shot down from an orbiting satellite. Ugh, just leave me alone. I wanted to run away. But where would I run? It didn't matter where I went, even if I went to the very edges of Japan. He'd still catch me. Get a plane? It's been a long time. That was the first thing Shogun said to me. He said it like he was just casually saying hello to a friend he hadn't seen in a while. But I knew for a fact I had never ever considered this guy a friend. My teeth sank into my lip as I stared at the words written across the monitor. However, instead of making me freeze out of fear, the message from Shogun instead sent me grabbing for my phone. It was past 3 PM at this hour. Classes were probably still in session, but surely my situation wasn't hopeless. If Rimi was here, she could do something. That's what I wanted to believe. I went to my address book, although it wasn't much of a book considering how empty it was, and called Rimi's phone number. Save me, Rimi. You hate me. Rimi, quick. Pick up. It was hard to breathe. I couldn't think straight. Rimi wasn't picking up. There was no voice on the other end, only the monotonous dialing sound repeating endlessly. Why? Whenever I'm in trouble, you're always there for me. So, why aren't you answering? I have a present for you. Present? You're gonna send me some more disgusting shit. And this time you're gonna blame me for it. You're gonna pin me as the new gen culprit. No. Anything but that. It's not me. I'm not the culprit. I felt like a fish that had been ripped out of the water. I was losing oxygen. My mind was going fuzzy. My only ray of hope left was Remy. I grasped my phone tighter and tighter, praying with all my might to the other end of the call. She picked up. Save me. Your call has been forwarded to an automatic voice message system. I hope it pleases you. Voice mail. That couldn't be. Uh-oh. Discouraged, I hung up the phone. I wrapped my arms around myself. Green? Before I knew it, my body had started trembling. I was more afraid of Shogun than I thought I was. But why wouldn't I be? He was a homicidal maniac, posing as a handicapped person. And he'd already committed 5 unspeakable crimes. And I was the next one in his sights. Ugh. Somebody. Save me! Here she is. Taku. Remy! It was as if my prayers had been answered, like the cries of my heart had been heard. Remy really did always appear whenever I was in trouble. She opened the door and leapt into my room. Remy, save me. Remy looked straight at me, then quickly examined our surroundings. Immediately realizing that the source of terror was my PC, she began typing on the keyboard with an angry expression. Shut your mouth, stupid. You tackle alone or I'll kick your butt. You have to be ruthless at times like this. Remy looked back at me and smiled gently. If you're real up front with them, the bullies will back off a lot easier than you'd think. Was that really how it worked? Remy was only that reckless because she didn't know much about the internet. She didn't know much about the internet. Being that blunt would only make the other person even madder. And here the other person was Shogun. Why is it spelled like that here, and not like that here? Isn't that weird? As I stared at the monitor with bated breath, Shogun sent yet another message. You're dead. Oh, and he's gone. Well, thanks, Remy. You've just secured my death. Do not open in recycle bin. The room went silent. What the hell? I knew it. It really had pissed him off. The tone of his last message was very clearly different. He's all talk, I promise. It's not like some random person would take that personally enough to come barging in here or something. More importantly, are you doing okay, Taku? Sorry I missed your call. I was already almost here, so I figured I'd just wait until I saw you in person. After the earthquake hit, I was so worried about you that I ran here as fast as I could. And I'm glad I did. While I was listening to Remy's voice, I couldn't take my eyes off the monitor. His message had left me deeply unsettled. You're dead. Why the hell? But I'm here now. So everything's A-okay. You don't have to worry about a thing. Why the hell did you do that? He'll kill me. He's gonna kill me. I have to get out of here fast. Calm down. He's not gonna kill you. You're overthinking. Suddenly, Remy went silent. Her eyebrows furrowed and she looked up at the ceiling. What's wrong? Whose eyes are those eyes? Her voice was a soft murmur. Suddenly, Remy's face contorted, and she grabbed at her head with both hands. My head, it hurts. Huh? Huh? Ugh, it hurts. It feels like it's gonna split in two. Unable to endure the pain anymore, Remy fell to the floor. She was shaking her head madly. Where did this come from? Ugh, ugh. Don't tell me. My gaze shot toward the ceiling. No. Not the ceiling. Toward the sky beyond the ceiling. Toward an artificial satellite that might or might not exist. Was Shogun attacking? Uh-oh. It hurts. It hurts. It hurts. My head. It's gonna split open. Flip. A drop of blood fell from Remy's nose. Suddenly, her half moans, half screams ceased. Remy's body shook violently as she staggered, and then she dropped to the floor, head first. Oh my god. What? Remy? There was no answer. She didn't even twitch. He'd killed her. Using a satellite, using EM waves, Shogun had killed Remy. How? That had been so quiet. He'd killed Remy with neither sound nor smell, without even a hint of his presence. It had been way too quiet, but that only made it even more terrifying. There was no escape. I kneeled to the floor and shook Remy's shoulder. Hey. Wake up, Remy. There was no escape. No matter where I went on Earth, there'd be no escape. Holy fuck. And I guess we're going to leave it there for now. How do you combat someone that can just make your head explode from anywhere in the world? Crazy. Well, thanks so much for watching this episode of Chaos Head. We'll be tackling Shogun next time on Borderline Games. Have a great evening. Take care of yourselves. Bye-bye. Bye.